Yeah, he's not going to let me alone.
Knows what you're gonna say.
Never know. I'm trying to hold my mouth.
Okay, we're live on one site. Let's get them up.
We don't have these lights on. Is it good?
I think so.
Do we look pretty?
Oh yeah, you look great.
Okay,
Yay,
good.
happy.
I think we kind of match.
Hey,
I need to get a tattoo.
you know, I got a Sharpie around here.
Cut up and sew tattoo.
Yeah. Today only. Good morning, everybody. Let me find the feed here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. My favorite day of the week. Glad we're here.
Is it your favorite day?
It always has been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been it's Monday. I'm always like, yeah, let's get the cool new week.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
fresh start. Like, let's rock.
Exactly. What does the week have in store for me? I'm all rested.
Case of the Mondays. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on.
That's
Then
never
again,
me.
to be fair, I've never been a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, even-
Technically, also, I'm off on Tuesdays, so that's another reason I love Mondays. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
one
it's your
day
Fridays.
work week.
That'll do it. Yeah, even when I was working full time, I like Mondays. I like going in to see what was happening.
All right.
Hey, there we are. We're ready.
All right. The whole crew's here. Nina, Janice, Jody, Tris, Maria, Janet. I'm repeating names now.
Well, welcome to all of you. We're
Good
so glad
morning,
to see you.
everybody.
And bright and early too.
9:01. I love it. Good morning, Nancy. See you a little bit later today. All right. Let's see here. Anybody on Instagram we need to say hi to?
No,
Mom?
Not yet. Mom is not there yet.
Bonnie on YouTube?
She'll get there.
We got a bunch of stuff to chat about today.
I was just noticing there is so much new stuff here and just
This isn't all
really
of it.
different.
We have a lot more.
Are these not fun?
Yeah. You didn't bring, did you bring the nose fabric? Yes, you did.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
show it later. There are some really neat companion fabrics to this that I was actually, it's the first thing I thought of this morning when I woke up.
That dog's face, that nose is so cute.
It's
And
very cute.
it looks a little dark, but you want to try flipping the light on?
No, it's not. It's bright on the
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's
Good.
dark to you guys, but it's not dark on one.
Well, that's
the
all that
producer
matters.
says we're good.
Producer says we're good. That's right. All right. Thumbs up, hearts.
Can they hear you, both
Can you hear
Can
us?
you hear us?
of you?
Can you hear me now?
But yeah, the hearts and likes, you guys are always amazing. So supportive. Share with a friend. If you don't do that, Denise, you do it every single time. We love it. It's awesome. Because there are wonderful people like you that forget that we go on at 9 o'clock or that don't know. And we want them to know.
Yeah, we want them to know just in case they want to join us for the fun.
They're going to miss out on all of Joann's knowledge.
No, I'm going to get that sign from out front that says Comedy Club, and I'm just going to
That's a great idea.
Good morning, Martha. Good morning, Donna, Mary. All right. Joe Ellen. All right. We got a party. Wonderful. And everybody seems like they're in a great mood. I see sunshines and hearts and everything.
wow.
Okay. Sticky note. It says Baby Lock Tech. But before we do that, I'll just talk about this. You guys got to go. That's it. We'll see you there.
What is
Quilt
it?
Fest.
Oh, Quilt Fest.
Yep.
Yes.
So we definitely have the tickets. And once again, we have almost sold out of the 60 and above tickets. We're getting more. Don't worry. It's not like limited amount. But that means all your friends are going. So
That's
don't
right.
get left behind.
Mhm. That's right.
Get the tickets early, even if you don't get it here. Get it at get it at a local shop that's selling them, so you can skip the line, save a buck.
Mhm. I already have my
Yeah.
tickets. I have tickets for me and my friend, and I'm already making a list of all the things I need to look for.
Fantastic.
So I'm ready.
So you don't just go and wonder. You actually go like with a game plan.
Well, I go and wander, but I have a game plan.
Good for you. That's tough.
It is.
But I get it. There are people who usually have one thing in mind. Like there's always the person who stops at the arrow booth and goes, "Okay,
This
I've been
is the year."
looking. This is the well," and they know that the quilt that's the best time to get because
Mhm.
you know wheeling and dealing, and so game plans are good. But tickets, and just in case you have no idea what we're talking about, it's the Quilt Fest. It's the Jacksonville Quilt Show on September 19th, 20th, and 21st. Right?
And
Yep.
I've been impressed. I have been to it 3 times now. I think I've been 3 times, maybe 2, but maybe 3. So, but whatever I've been, every year it's better than the year before. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what it's got this year.
Absolutely. The quilts are fantastic.
Mhm.
So we know some people that have put stuff in. It's a really good show if you're just going for the art for the quilts. And I love that they've added the art quilting. I don't know if it's a category, but the
Oh, have
addition
they?
for art quilting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's always art quilts.
Mhm.
This is the industry. We talked about it on the podcast. It
Mhm.
seems like it's veering towards art quilting anyway.
Right.
But the I don't know if it's the modern. What quilt got added to the mix?
The Jacksonville Modern Quilt Guild.
It is the Jacksonville Modern Quilt Guild. So you know that means there's going to be some attention kind of being given to the art quilts,
That's
which
right.
is great.
And
I'm
that
excited.
and that guild, I've been to that guild, and they just have some marvelous quilters there and some just awesome modern quilts. And I think that one of the things I was just thinking about yesterday is that the modern quilts have you've seen a progression there where they started out being just these bizarre combination of fabrics that you'd wonder why they did that, but now they're just looking, the genre is coming into its own, and the quilts are beautiful and imaginative, and they're just exceptional.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing them.
People keep pushing the envelope and
Exactly.
feeding off of each other and one up, and it's great. It's all in, I think, friendly competition a little bit, you know. So, and it is a quilt show. So that's but also there's more vendors this year. You don't have to pay for parking. We're bringing Caterpillar, which we didn't bring last year. Like, there's so many reasons. Joann's going to be there. So anyway, I just did see that it looks fine on my end.
Yeah, well,
So
I updated it to I updated it to a higher speed resolution.
Higher resolution. Okay.
So hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah, we don't want to be pixelated robots.
No, I don't
Do the robot.
Get
All right. Yes, it's going to be epic. Abby, absolutely. I love that. Is there a bus going to Jacksonville? There's a bunch of them. Unfortunately, we're not hosting one. I think I've already heard of like 4 or 5 buses, but I don't know who's putting it on. We're going to try to do it next year. Keyword try. I don't know strategically because we're pretty much all hands on deck, and I want to be on the bus. Tony wants to be on the bus. So it's like, how do you make that happen when you can't be 2 places at once? So enough people have mentioned or asked about the bus that I think we can make it happen. So this year, though, I'm sorry, no, we are not hosting a bus. Is that right? Hosting a bus trip.
Right. You did it good.
Yes, it's going to be epic. I love that. Okay, so let's see. Quilt Guild, check. Baby Lock Tech is this week. Maria and I leave on Friday, and that means we get tons of information very, very soon. People keep asking questions, and we don't have the answers, or we have, little tidbits, and we have, theories and that sort of thing.
You have a list of questions that people have asked that you don't have answers for.
I do.
Good.
And honestly, they're the same questions I have. It's more of just like, what's new, and so Baby Lock Tech's always fun because you get to go, we'll get hands-on experience. We see the machines in person. We get to ask the people that know the machines better than anybody on the planet. So
are they doing mainly just, the domestic machines and sergers and things like that? Or do they do long arms there? And do they do?
So there's I forgot what they call it. Shame on me. But basically a whole area set up with little stations dedicated to the long arms, the sergers, the embroidery, the sewing, the specialty. And they have an educator or an ambassador at each kind of spot. And you can go furniture. And then so you can go and sit and look at the new products, ask questions, look at the samples, which is one of my favorite parts because they make really awesome samples. So it is broken down. As far as the actual hands-on education, I haven't seen long arms yet, but that would be kind of tough in a lot of time. So it's more focused on either the new combination, like the Radiance, for example, is the big one this year. But there are 2 other new machines, and that's what we don't know anything about yet. But so the Radiance is a big one that we're going to spend some time on for sure because it's new features, stitch regulators. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just excited because, well, we're going to get excited. Then we get to come back to Embrace Embroidery event and get you guys excited. So it's a lot happening. Yeah, I told Tony, we said it was the calm before the storm. There's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
It's not so calm because we've been jamming. You guys have been hanging out with us, taking classes. It's been great. Did I miss anybody? I thought I saw a question. No?
Lavina's on YouTube.
Hey, Lavina on YouTube. Good morning, Joann. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Sam. Oh, the modern category is huge this year. That's what I saw. Sorry, Abby. So that's great.
Yeah, and lots of my people are there. Hi.
That's right. Okay, so back to the sticky note. I'm going to get all off track. Embrace Embroidery. So it's a 2-day event, but it's actually the same event. The 30th, which is the Friday, is currently booked up. It's full. So if you can't do Saturday the 31st, put your name on the wait list for the 30th, and maybe something will happen. But the 31st, and I don't know how many spots as of today, because we talked about it on Saturday, there's probably only a couple spots left. If you have never embroidered, if you have a 4x4 kind of intro level embroidery machine, if you haven't embroidered for years and you just kind of you're out of touch or whatever, this event is really going to showcase where we're at as far as baby lock embroidery and how advanced the technology has kind of come, and also how easy it is to use that technology. So it's really a cool, I'm excited. I think everybody's going to get hands-on, and they're going to get to play and see the different levels of machines and understand like what fits them the best and that sort of stuff. So I'm excited. So that's on the 31st. But at the beginning of each of those days, we're going to basically debrief you guys on all of the stuff we found out at Baby Lock Tech. Okay. It'll be cool. And Nina, if not full, almost full. We had Nina on the study hall. And as always, Nina's just she's awesome. Positive and infectious. And and so as we're literally talking to Nina, I see the
people signing up.
Yeah. So
if you've signed up for her class, you're just going to have a great time. Even if you fail the class, you'll have a great time.
She kept saying she failed the class. Well, you got to take it again then.
That's right.
And we did talk about that. And I think, wasn't beginner embroidery the one that had 4 spots, and then now I think it's 2.
Free motion embroidery. No, not embroidery.
What did I say? Beginner, beginner free motion. Yes. And then there's the beginner free motion, and then free motion 2, and then chop it like it's hot. Chop it like it's hot. The one that's just going to be like a fiber play, free motion, maybe ruler work.
Oh my goodness!
All sorts of stuff. Yeah. Very little glitter. Linda asked no glitter, right? So anyway, it's going to be awesome. But the only reason I'm mentioning that is because it literally, as we were on, it was filling up. So don't wait. That's in October.
So it's coming up.
9th,
October 9th, 10th, and 11th. So that's still a ways out. I mean, not really.
But it'll get here before you know it.
It will, but it's going to be full way before then. So we're going to keep trying. We don't want you guys to miss out on classes. That's why we do this. And use the wait list. It works. Let's see. It has been great. Lots of classes, a lot of idea sharing. Wait, what is she responding to?
Just the general.
Joe, just in general. Oh, thank you, Denise. That's awesome. I love the classes, the clubs. We love having you here. We love how involved you are. Not only just you, so many people. It's great. It's Cut Up and Sew family here. Good morning, Shirley. We got some binding for you to do. She posted, I love my favorite part, binding. And I was like, oh, careful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. New fabric. Let me show these little guys first. We've never had burlap. What's the best one to show on camera? We don't need to show all of them, but
Snowflake.
Oh, the snowflake, yeah.
Okay, so I'm waiting to hear what you're going to do with it.
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you do with burlap? So it's funny.
I asked first.
Yeah. I don't have. This is a question for all of you. So it came like this kind of nice little, holiday pack, which is cool. So you've got the fat quarters and cotton, but we have to look, and we'll find out today. They made some really cute samples with this, and we've never had this, and it's a small amount. So we thought, how fun would this be just to try something new for Christmas and get in the spirit? Are you waiting for me to hold that up? Okay.
You know, the only one I can really identify with is the one with the snowflakes. And that would be kind of cute with a simple table runner. And this just goes on top of it. So you have a little snowflake thing. So, you know, once again, I'm not terribly creative.
Any of you guys play with burlap? If so, let us know what comes into your mind when you see that stuff. And there's a bunch of
Bows
fun
and
fact
wreaths.
orders. Wreaths and bows. Tony
Yeah.
will always come up with something to use it for in the elf workshop. No pressure. That was Tris.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Jean.
Yeah.
Good morning, Pat.
Tony, today you can go look up Pinterest burlap.
Ribbon.
Google
Ribbon.
what to do with burlap. Okay, so let's do this. Well, 2 panels came in with I forgot the name of it, the horse fabric. What's the
Drinker of the wind or something.
Drinkers of the Wind? What an amazing name, first of all. I absolutely love that name. But the colors, and even though if it's crystal clear, it doesn't probably do it justice.
It doesn't.
The colors in this, and I started opening it up and I was like, yes, unicorns. No, horses, but they're very majestic. So
They are.
that's why.
So even if you're not into horses, if you come into the shop, make sure you take a look at them because the color is absolutely beautiful. They're like artwork. And
Well, exactly. It's absolutely stunning.
That's
I'm
great.
good with
That's
this one.
great.
Is that not cool? I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. So my wife, Shan, she goes, you don't even like horses. And I was like, yeah, but look at it. Come on.
Pretty. Yeah, so if you've got a granddaughter who loves horses, or
That could have been trees or gophers or
Mhm.
spoons. If it was that pretty,
Yeah.
I would have been like, yep, we're getting
Spoons.
it. He got a spoon panel. He really likes silverware.
I bet somebody right this minute is now thinking about how can I make a spoon pan? That's
I tell you, the fabric that I see when the reps come in, I'm like, huh. Somebody
What were
said,
they
yeah, I
thinking?
think I want that. And then this is some of the complementary fabric, which is, look, that's like the horse's mane.
Mhm.
It's so cool. But people have been buying this and not using it for the horse, horse panel just because of the colors.
Mhm.
I'm gonna show this one first because that's my last one. Ooh. Yeah, we got a little bit tricky for you to do it today. It's a really pretty line. Put Minky on the back. That's the answer for everything.
Who's my people out there?
Angelina. Good morning, Diane, Vicky. And then this is the last one we got to go with it. And I absolutely
We'll show 'em
love
the
that.
flowers and the horses.
Yeah, it's in there.
It's on the little
Yeah, so
behind
like
the ears.
Yeah. So they're here and here. So it's a complementary fabric, but it certainly is a fabric that will work on its own.
Absolutely. And then this, I think I'm just going to lower this a little bit.
I love the tongue.
How funny and fun is this? Look at this. But this guy's what sold it to me. Well, this guy's pretty great too. Again, just a really fun panel. I like that they've just the attention to kind of detail and making it real artsy, putting the patterns on the ears and the tail, and it's
Yeah, and if
not
you've got
boring at all.
No, and if you've got a dog, you can identify with one, at least one of those dogs.
Absolutely. And this is a border print. I think that'll probably show it good there. It's really cute as well. I think there's a purple dog in a.
Yeah, it's a St. Bernard.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Purple St. Bernard.
And then this is a really cool blender. Well, it's not really a blender, but
It's a
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah,
background
It's a
fabric.
blender.
Mhm.
Or you like to say coordinates.
coordinates.
I love this. Is my favorite one.
I know. And that's why they put that last blender in there, because he's got that black and white around his nose.
Mhm.
That's so good.
That is just dark.
I absolutely love that line.
That may have to come home. I resist these things, but that may not.
Oh, that one showed up good on camera. It looked like you could really see the color, so that's awesome. Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Tammy. Have you seen the dog pooping fabric? No, Tris, I have not. That's so funny.
And I hope to miss that one. I have enough of that at home.
The dog pooping fabric. No, I'll have to keep my eyes out for that one. My son, who's 6, would love it.
Yes, it's definitely a kid fabric for sure.
That's great. We're starting to get some new fabric in, which is great. I
Mhm.
know that everybody was like, what's going on? Well, I went to China. Hello. But then also it was the slowest time of the year. So we
Mhm.
kind of needed to play it safe.
And it's-
Keep you guys, on your toes a little bit. And then we hit
Yeah.
you and surprise you.
And Tamara was always moving things around. So it was
Well-
and it also made room for new stuff.
And I tell you, it's amazing. Tamara's great at it. Like fabric that's been here for even 6 months, a year,
Mhm.
you put it with the line that just showed up or something that didn't go together, it looks like new fabric. So
Mhm.
sometimes if you're here all the time, sometimes there's things that you have 100% missed. In
Mhm.
fact, I all the time somebody comes up to cut it and I go, where did we get, I don't remember this fabric.
Mhm.
So okay. Spoonflower has it. I think they printed it. Love the hound with the big nose. Yeah, she's
Mhm.
cute. Should we do Joann? And then I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm
Something on that table.
going to let you do your spiel, your portion, Joann,
Okay.
and then I'm going to move over there. I think
Okay.
need something on the table.
We need something on the table. Wow. All right. So I have nothing to show you today. Well, actually, I do have other things to show you,
Yeah, we do.
but what we're talking about today is getting your quilt ready for the long armor. So if you're going to take your quilt to be long armed, these are things that you can do that will make your quilt very happy.
This is a great conversation, by the way,
Oh, good.
because more people they pay a long armor, they take it to a
Mhm.
long armor versus long arm themselves.
Right.
So this is super
Mhm.
useful information.
And if you're going to quilt your own quilt, there's information in here that'll be good for you as well, just in preparing your quilt for quilting. But this is specifically for the long armor. And I'm going to start and end with the very same thing, which is communication is the key to success. And if you're just going to take your quilt, drop it off, and leave, you're not going to be as happy with your quilt, with the end product, as you would be if you actually put some
Yeah.
communication into it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to press your quilt, and make sure when you're pressing it, I usually start on the back and I make sure all of my seams are going in the same direction, and then I flip it over and make sure no seams are kind of folded over on each other. And so it's nicely pressed. Then I measure it so I know how big it is. And you can get a feel for how much it's going to cost when you measure it. But the main reason why you measure it is so that you'll have adequate amount of backing and batting. And you want to talk to your quilter about how much she wants. But on average, you're looking at 8 inches total, top and all the way around. No, I'm sorry. 4 inches all the way around, which is 8 inches added to your width and 8 inches to your length.
So 4 inches of hangover.
Yeah, 4 inches of hangover going from the edge of your quilt.
4 inches. Yeah. 4
And
inches.
different long armors will have different requirements, so it's good to talk to them. And let's say you have done everything and you find out that you really only have 3 inches, or maybe you only have 2 inches. You need to talk to them. Sometimes what they'll do if they find out that either they or you will have to sew kind of what they call a leader to the sides or the top, so that they have enough room to get the quilt onto the long arm. And it takes room to be able to get clamps on it to make sure it stays nice and straight and everything is working perfectly. So that's something you want to talk to your long armor about. But if you, for some reason, you can plan on at least 8 inches. Once you've done that, then your batting doesn't need to be quite as big. Your batting can be about 3 inches past. Some long armors will take 2 inches past the edges, but your batting does still need to be bigger than the quilt itself. So that's your measuring. Then you want to trim your quilt, and there's 2 things you have to trim. You have to look at the back, and you can do this while you're pressing actually, and trim off. You're going to trim off all the little loose threads. Now, if you've got a black background and a lot of color in your quilt, it's not as critical as it is if you have a white background with red, in which case, if those threads aren't trimmed off, you're going to see them, and it's not going to be pretty. So, and it's hard to get them out, sometimes impossible. So you want to make sure you trim up your quilt as much as possible with all those loose threads. The other thing is you want to trim around the edges and make sure the edges are nice and straight. It makes it a lot easier for the long armor when the edges are straight, so that they can get everything measured and straight on their long arm. And the same thing going across the top and the bottom. If your top is a little off and the long armor doesn't notice it, then you've got a crooked quilt. So,
So question about that, because I've heard different quilters say that some of them can, like, don't stress, I guess is what I'm kind of suggesting, but tell me if I'm wrong. A lot of times when they quilt it, they can kind of
Mhm.
even it out and smooth it out. Is that not right? So
Yeah.
if it's off, don't go too short, right? Because I mean,
yeah,
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Tony's making grumble noises over there. So
we want you to be perfect. We want, when you go to your long armor, we want the long armor to say, "You are so good. You have just prepared this quilt perfectly."
and since that's not realistic,
Since that's
my
not
question
realistic.
is, like,
Yes.
literally how straight does it truly need to be for most long arm?
I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
In one of my first classes, I was teaching a quilt where it was a Irish chain with stars in the opposite blocks. And I made the mistake. I mean, this is the first time I'm teaching this quilt. It was maybe my second class, and they were all new quilters. I made the mistake of telling them they could either put their blocks so that they were nice and square like this, or they could put them on point. Well, the woman who was the newest quilter of all of them and really had never sewn before wanted to put hers on point, which was a challenge for me, not just her. So she puts it on point, and I'm just looking at it thinking, oh my goodness, this is such a mess. Well, she takes it. I recommend a long armor to her who I knew to be really good. She takes it to the long armor. When she gets it back, everybody was so impressed. It was beautiful. The long armor took that mess and just made it beautiful. And so long armors are, especially if you have one that's been doing in the business for a while,
They know how to fix some stuff.
they can fix some things and they can take your quilt and make it look good. But you want to give them as much help as you can.
That's fair. That's a good way to put it.
So, so that's my favorite story from quilting.
That's good.
So anyway, once you have trimmed your quilt, then what you can do is go around the edge about 1/8 of an inch from the edge and just sew a straight seam all the way around the edge. Now, this isn't something that's necessary or you should make sure you absolutely do, but it's very helpful, and it does two things. One thing, it helps the edge from stretching when it's on the long arm, and the other thing is if you've got seams coming out to the edge, it keeps those seams from separating. So it will just be a cleaner edge for the long armor. And once again, not necessary, but helpful.
I don't know if I'd heard that before. So literally just do a straight stitch all around.
All the way around.
Huh. I don't think most people do that.
I don't think they do either, but it's very nice when it's done. Yeah. And
Well, sorry to long armors. Any of the quilts we've given you, guess what they don't have? That.
Let's see where I am in this list. So the stage stitching. Then you want to take a look at your backing. And if you're going to sew pieces together, if you're going to piece your backing, one thing that's really nice, once again, not absolutely necessary, but it's so nice, is if you're piecing two pieces together, if the seams go horizontally, so that as it feeds onto the long arm, onto the bars on the long arm, it feeds on evenly. When the seam goes down the center, then when it feeds onto the long arm, you've got this lump as the quilt goes further and further down, you have this lump in the center, and then it's like this, which makes things a little off. And there's some adjustments you can make as a long armor, but it's nice when the seam goes straight across. When you sew your seam straight across, you want to use, I usually will I will leave my selvage on so that I know that it's going to be pretty straight. But I sew about 1/2 inch past the selvage, and then I trim off the selvage afterwards. And I press mine just, to all of the seam to one side, but a lot of long armors like them to go prefer that it be pressed open. I don't know what the difference is. I know how I like mine. You can ask your long armor about what they like.
Again, communication.
Communication, that's right. Then you need to start thinking about some of the things in the construction of the quilt once it gets to the long armor. And one of them is batting. Now, some long armors have one batting, and that's all they're going to, maybe they use 80-20, which is 80% cotton and 20% polyester. The nice thing about that it has a lot of the niceness of the cotton, and the polyester gives it just a little extra loft so that when you're looking at it, you see there's a little bit more definition to the quilting than in the cotton. The cotton will give you a lovely drape. Any natural fiber, whether it's cotton or bamboo, they give you a nice drape. They give you a cozy feel. It's just those are nice. If you're wanting a quilt that's just going to be on a bed or something that you're going to curl up with, those natural fibers are really nice. And if it's going to go on a bed, then you want your design to be a little bit bigger, because if it's smaller, then it's going to get really thread heavy. So you want to look at those bigger designs or think about bigger designs. Then you want to think about your thread color. And thread color is a huge thing. And this is where it's nice to be able to take your quilt to the long armor so you can really talk about the thread. So maybe you want a thread that, for instance, in this one, I chose a light blue because one of the things I dislike about Lone Stars is I don't like this big square here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give it interest. So I used the light blue here, but for the most part, except for in the dark areas, you can't really see it in the rest of it. And that was kind of the effect I was going through. I wanted to see it here. I didn't want to see it too much in the rest of the quilt. And so you really want to think about those things. You want to think about, where do you want to see the quilting? Do you want to see a brighter thread than what's there? Do you want, do you want your thread to kind of melt into the quilt all over the place? And you have to think about your quilt, is there a lot of white with big bright stars in them? And that's going to make a difference. You have some areas where it's white and some areas where it's colored, and how are you going to deal with it? And the long armor can help you with all those decisions. You can talk those through, and she can help you figure that out. And she can help you figure out thread color as well. What will work best.
Most long armors that do this for a business have the thread. And
Yes.
so you just need to tell them what color you prefer. Yes. And that's where, if you're there in person, it helps because you can pick it out.
Exactly.
We trust our long armor. So we say, give us something ish, but with thread, the big thing is always, okay, who's the star? Is it the piecing or do we need the quilting to showcase it because there's not a lot going on?
Right.
And so you got to be somewhat strategic with it. Also the back, if it's a busy back, do you care if you're going to see the threading or the quilting?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
There's some thought process to it.
And if you're using Minky, you want to see that design. You don't want to see any thread, which you won't see on Minky, but you want to see the design. So you really want to think through both your back and your front.
Right.
I think the last thing is trimming and binding, and not so much your trimming and binding, but the long armors. How do you want the long armor to bind your quilt? For example, when I quilt a quilt for somebody, 99% of the time, what I do is I will measure and make sure that the edges are straight and square at the bottom and ready for you to put your binding on. Well, some people like to wrap their binding, which you need to tell the quilter in advance, because that may change how she actually quilts. Because, for instance, when I quilt a quilt, I quilt off the edge. And so there's quilting on the batting and the backing that's hanging over the side. Well, if you're going to if you want to wrap your backing around to the front, you don't want all that stitching on there. So the quilter needs to know that. So you want to talk about the trimming and how she's going to trim it. If you've got edges, like if this were the edge, if this point came right out to the edge of your quilt, then the binding needs to be cut a little bit past that so that you can actually wrap it and keep the binding doesn't come and blunt your points. So you need to talk about your binding. If she's going to do the binding for you, You need to talk about what she wants. Does she just want a big piece of fabric and she's going to make the binding? Does she want you to make the binding for her? You know, how much does she need? All that sort of thing. So you need to talk about binding in conjunction with your of your quilting.
Yeah.
And-
Not to interrupt your thoughts, but this is good. Angelina, I knew you did something.
Mm-hmm.
She's always got good
Well, she's a
good
long-
input. She's a long armor.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, a long armor for company. You want the design of quilting to go across the quilt top evenly. You do not want open seams when basting. Makes sense?
Yes.
You got to picture it.
I
Yeah.
was thinking about that. Yes.
Well, yeah, when you baste it, you don't, yeah, makes sense.
Mhm.
Martha.
So-
Too.
Hmm?
You know that Martha Longarm? You know Martha Longarm.
Got a bunch of long armors. As they say, great job, Joann. As a long armor myself, your information to everyone is spot on.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. So anyway, once again, as I said in the beginning, communicate with your long armor, talk to them. I know that when you get your quilt back, I want it to be a surprise. I want you to get your quilt back and just say, that is the greatest thing. I am so excited. Now the quilt looks really good and I love it. I do not want the surprise to be, that's not exactly what I was thinking. So,
Yeah.
so you
Communicate.
want to communicate with your long armor as much as you can.
It's a good point, and it's so obvious that I think sometimes people, it needs to be said though, even though it's so, you just, don't assume.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because my taste, those people that bring their quilt and say, you just do what you want, what you think would look good on here. And what I think might look good might not be what
We
you
have
think.
we have very different tastes.
That's right.
But yes, you're right. Good morning, Josh and Joann. Hey, Shar. I love this conversation. That's great. Because again, there's a bunch of long armors in here, which is fantastic. But there are more people that don't. So this is such a useful conversation. And by the way, I just want to tell you, I've had such nice feedback, or people have taken the time to say that the conversation we had about creativity,
Mhm.
wasn't that the topic? I think it was just, they said it was really, how did Bonnie say? She said it was special.
Oh,
And I said, oh, we had so much fun with that conversation. So I
Mhm.
love just having
Conversations.
conversations about
Mhm.
things like that.
Me
Yeah, it was
too.
great. This was as well.
Good.
Was that the end of it?
that's the end of it. That's all I got.
All right, let's see, 9:37. I tell you what, we're going to multitask because we're running a little long, which is fine with me. But
We may lose you.
we're going to open it up for a Q&A, but I'm also going to go around and we're going to move the camera a little bit. But as I'm moving over there, my question to you guys is, what do you look for in a new machine? And I'm gonna kind of say in a domestic machine, or not a long arm. I know we were just talking about long arms. So this conversation will be more about, what do you look for in a new machine? And I'm just curious. Joann, you can start.
I look for, I love all the new stuff. I want to make sure I have good lighting. I want to make sure I have a knee lift. I want to make sure I have something that will thread my needle. I want to make sure I have something that will cut the thread. I want something that is easy to use, and I want a big space between the head of the machine and the body.
The throat space.
The throat space, yes.
Yeah, that's a big one, right?
Mhm.
Has anybody responded yet?
Just ask the question.
They're not typing.
They're still typing.
It takes a minute to type.
Oh, and I can turn this around. I can look. So I thought that I would set up the. Can you see it all right? I just want to kind of get out of the way. This is the Janome M6. And what's so funny is I was going to thread it and I realized I took the needle out.
I have
But so Joann said a few things. When you're looking for a new machine, everybody sews different. Everybody sews different things. So a lot of times, and even here, we're not the biggest shop, but there's a lot of options. And so it's very easy for people to feel overwhelmed. So that's why when people come in, I usually ask them, well, okay, what are you sewing? Because
Mhm.
Joann, you said throat space. Well, as of right now, it doesn't get any bigger than this.
Right.
So this is something that, and the lighting is incredible.
Mhm.
Threader, as I was going to show you, automatic threaders. Now, if there was a needle there, that would actually go into it. Use your imagination. Be creative.
So when you use the automatic threader on there, when you go to use it, does it set the needle where it needs to be so that you don't mess up your threader.
That's the beauty of these Janome machines, because when you lock it, it
Mhm.
actually does. It lowers the presser foot
Mm-hmm.
and puts the needle. The number one repair on the planet is needle threader.
Right.
And I don't care if it's the $20,000 top of the line machine or a $200 entry level.
Mm-hmm.
Needle threaders are a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're humans, we make errors. We don't put the needle in the right position. We never hit the needle up, needle down like you're supposed to before using the automatic threader.
Mm-hmm.
So with machines like the Continental series and a few others that are top of the line and have the true one button push,
Mm-hmm.
when you lock it, it actually does put it in the right position.
Okay.
Because it's automated. So if you have a problem, if you're always breaking needle threaders, maybe that should be really high on your list.
Mm-hmm.
If you need it. And truthfully, needle threaders are one of the number one questions.
Right.
And those little half drop down things that are harder to use than just a magnifying glass, that doesn't cut it. But I tell you, technology is getting better and they're making things easier. I want a machine that does a good double needle. That's interesting.
Well, that's Trish. It is alteration of things.
Oh, very good, Trish. It's funny. We just had a conversation, and I was showing the machine. I said, "And this is your double needle." And I've never had anybody go, "Can you show me how to use a double needle?" Like, I don't think I've ever actually sewed with one. And almost every machine is capable of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But does it do it well? I don't know. So I need some education. When you're in here in October, Trish, we're gonna sit down.
You can ask it at Baby Lock Tech.
Yeah. Well, the answer is they all do it, and they all do it probably
Mhm.
fine. But as somebody who does alterations like Trish, because
Mhm.
literally I don't know anybody else that uses a double needle.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Well,
I've never had
remember that class that we took where we did the leading from can't remember her name, but is that fine bias that went around the edge of the Molly's class and
Molly's class, she did a double needle.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
So there might be some art quilters or something who like the double needle.
Good point. Some of the bigger things, some of the most common requirements or things that people want is, yes, throat space, is the lighting good, needle threader. What about easy accessibility, access? Because let's be honest, how many people go to change their stitch plate out and they have to go, if they don't have this little mini screwdriver?
Oh, I hate that. Yes, I like being able to just pop it out.
Now, this
Good
is
point.
a pretty high, but most machines are not this high up. And so you're like, well, that doesn't fit underneath there.
Mhm.
Let me get this tool out. And you go through your toolbox jumbling because you don't know where
Or
this
you
guy is.
Finally get out a dime.
A dime, right?
That's what I use.
I've actually used a presser foot.
Oh, yeah.
So you do what you do, but that's frustrating. So one of the features on here, look, Ma, no hands.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Did the camera see it all right?
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
that's incredible. So if that's a big deal to you, then really there's only Janome machines are the only ones that do that. But there are other machines that have just a button that you can push. In other words, if there's no screws on your needle plate, that is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's something you should look for. Are there screws on my needle plate? Also, most people, I shouldn't say most, but the majority of people that come in here are quilters or do quilting of some sort. And so a walking foot is a big deal. Some machines come with walking feet. You guys have probably seen a bazillion different types of those. The issue, in my opinion, with walking feet, like I don't want to call it aftermarket generic, but the standard traditional walking foot, the walking foot sits on your needle bar. And so when your needle bar goes up and down, it feeds the fabric with the feed dogs from the bottom, but it goes ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk. It's kind of clunky. It makes that noise too, believe it or not.
They're also hard to get on.
And they're kind of
I
hard to
was
get
just
on and
thinking the
off.
same
They are.
thing.
So a lot of brands, this is the Janome, have things built in. This is called AccuFeed. So literally now, when I don't know if it's gonna, can I trick it?
Yeah.
Even though there's no needle. We'll see.
No, because you have no thread.
There's no bottom thread. I'm not set up for success. But truthfully, the built-in AccuFeed, because it literally is connected to the machine, it's built in, it feeds it evenly. So your feed dogs move it, and the AccuFeed matches that. So you have a perfect even feed.
Does that Is that for all of the feet that you use on there, or is it,
It's
or do you have to have a special foot that will do the AccuFeed?
it's an AccuFeed foot, and it actually clicks into the back,
Okay.
so that it's truly connected to the machine, so that it basically moves as one. Yeah, and there are different feet. They're getting smarter with the AccuFeed, and Bernina's have a dual feed. Is that what that's called? Dual feed. Baby Lock. I don't know what we're going to find out at Baby Lock Tech, but they've had one that is a, what do they call it? A dual purpose, but it has a belt on it. So even though, in my opinion, it's a little bit big, it's got a belt, so it's still a very smooth feed. It's not that clunky.
Yeah, I don't know whether it still is, but I know that for a long time, Baby Luck had the best walking foot around. It would just work. It was big, but it worked beautifully.
Well, and so, yeah, so they still do if it's not a built-in, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like if it's an AccuFeed or a dual feed, if it's built in, if it's a foot that you can just go click, and it truly is in sync with the feed dogs, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
But you're right. As far as an actual foot, I think Baby Lock's is the best.
Yeah, and I would much prefer to have it just integrated with the machine as opposed to something I have to add on it at some point.
Yep. And then when you get the plate off, I'm going to try to wrap up. Just some things to be thinking about. Am I missing anybody? Anybody chime in yet? It's fun for. Okay. No.
There's a lot of.
Well, that's fine. We can go back. But when you get to your bobbin area, how easy is it to take the bobbin case out? You obviously need some of these little cleaning brushes, which we talk about all the time. But how easy is it for you to access this? Also, how delicate is it? I mean, durability should be pretty high up on your list. This thing is a tank. Some machines nowadays, if you buy a shop here, for example, or in a authorized dealer, the machines that we sell they're metal on the inside, but some of them are more durable and more heavy duty than others. And honestly, Janome excels in that category. But what's nice is it's a super heavy duty machine, but you have all of these features to go with it. So it's awesome. What's something else? What's a big one? I'm going to try to wrap this up, but I just
we have a stitch someone says she looks for stitch regulator. You answered all the questions actually.
Okay, good.
Except stitch regulator.
Stitch regulator. So that's a conversation that I've been having more and more recently. Because the throats are getting so large that people are like, I can actually quilt, and I can't put a long arm in my house. I don't have space for it, or I don't want to invest 20 grand. And so because of that, people are like, but I'm starting to quilt more. So there's only a few, I think that's going to change very, very soon. But up until last year, was that when this came out? The stitch regulator for
2 years, 17.
Up until a couple of years ago, Bernina was the only one that had a really good available stitch regulator. And it was a foot. It was called the BSR. And it's great. I played with it, but it was kind of dated technology. So Janome came out with the ASR, the accurate stitch regulator, and in my opinion, surpassed that. So I know they sell a couple of aftermarket stitch regulators. I can't swear by any of them. And to be honest with you, it's not new technology. So my guess is it would be frustrating and dated. They've had a few that you can use on a straight stitch only machine. That's pretty good, I'll be honest with you, but that's limiting. So this machine, for example, the M6 is not compatible with a stitch regulator. The M8, which looks exactly like it, is. So stitch regulators aren't cheap either. It's a lot cheaper than a long arm, and let's be honest, it's cheaper than paying your quilter over and over again if you quilt by check, as some people say. But a stitch regulator, if that's a requirement, you're pretty limited. But again, I think that's going to change. So, anything else that I'm missing? All right. I just wanted to get you guys thinking. When you go into shops and you're searching for your machine, just like communication and having things that on your checklist when you're going to the quilt show or to your long armor, have these questions ready, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed because there's just so many machines now, and they're getting bigger and cooler, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. Embrace the technology.
That's
Embrace
right.
the future. It makes sewing easier and more enjoyable. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. I think that was it. So if I missed a question or if you come up with one later on, as you guys always know, we will read the comments later. You're going to scoot back over there.
Let's go back over here so we can take a look. They're still hanging on.
You guys stuck it out with us. Wow, look at that, almost an hour. Janice loves my M6. Absolutely. Janice is a perfect example of you don't need a stitch regulator. Now, I love the stitch regulator, but you don't need it. And that is something you got to tell yourself, you know, or ask yourself, you know, is it something I really need to invest in? Janice does awesome quilting without a stitch regulator.
Yeah.
So we're all different. We all need different things. And honestly, there's so many machines out now that it's making it more difficult. So don't be too spontaneous. Sit down and sew on the machine. Don't buy something online. I know the California guys have great deals and it's wonderful. Well, that's fine. A good shop price matches, or at least gives you, you know, give them a fighting chance, but you have to go in and sit down and sew on them.
Absolutely.
You have to.
And as a person who continues to suffer with buying a machine that I did not try out and didn't think through carefully, it's always a good idea to really spend some time thinking about it and trying it. And, you know, like I've gotten to the point, if I'm going to buy a machine, I bring in my own fabric and my own block, and I use my own stuff so that I know exactly how this machine is going to work in my sewing room.
Yep. Nina, who is a free motion superstar, came in and sat down on multiple machines, and she brought her projects that she uses in class. And I mean, she put it to the test.
Yeah.
And that's how she found out what she liked.
And that's what you really have. Machines are such an investment now.
Yep.
And so you really do need to put some time and effort into it.
It is, but it's so much fun.
Yes, it is. Even the shopping is fun.
Exactly. It's an investment on your happiness.
That's right.
All right. Speaking of which, it's time to roll. So you guys have an amazing week. Get your tickets. Oh, thank you. Code word. Let's do code word baby lock.
All right.
Because we got baby lock tech coming. So when you come in and pay cash, you get your name in a drawing for the cash pig. Well, if you mention the word baby lock, you'll get 2 tickets. How about that? Thanks for reminding me. That's awesome. And then get your quilt show tickets. If you haven't registered for Nina or for the Embrace Embroidery and you'd like to, do so fast because it's going to be full. Other than that, have an amazing week. We'll see you guys soon. Live to create.
Just go out there and create a great life for yourself today.
I love that. Bye, guys.
Bye.
I love that.